everyone.
Let's take you back to October 15th, 1972. A small chartered plane left Uruguay heading for Santiago, the lively capital of Chile. On board were young rugby players, tall, strong, and full of energy. In total, 45 people traveled together, including friends and family, expecting just a short, ordinary flight. Normally, the trip from Uruguay to Santiago takes about 3 hours. But this flight cut straight across the mighty Andes Mountains. The Andes stretch across South America. They are the longest mountain range on Earth, second only to the Himalayas in height. Their snow-capped peaks look stunning in pictures, but on that day, they would turn into a deadly obstacle. A fierce storm hit the mountains, forcing the pilots to make a critical choice. They couldn't fly safely, so they made an emergency landing, planning to continue the next day. The plane touched down in Mendoza, Argentina. Passengers waited nervously through the cold night. On October 13th at 2:18 p.m., the plane took off again. Pilots confirmed clear skies. For the first hour, everything seemed fine. But at 3:21 p.m., as they began descending towards Santiago, danger was closing in. The plane was still flying over jagged Andes peaks which rise sharply near the city. Suddenly, violent turbulence hit. The plane shook uncontrollably, swallowed by thick clouds that blocked all visibility. Alarms screamed, lights flashed. Chaos had arrived. The rugby players tried to stay calm, joking and laughing, but one passenger peeked outside and realized just how close they were to a mountain. The pilots saw the looming rock face and pulled the controls with all their might. The ground collision alarm blared. The plane struggled to climb, but it was already too late. The tail hit first, tearing off 2 rear rows of seats, and tragically, 3 passengers were thrown out. The plane lifted briefly, then plummeted again. The left wing ripped off in another violent collision, throwing more passengers out. Only the front section remained, crashing onto a glacier, large ice field. It slid 700 meters at 350 km/h before coming to a stop. The aircraft was destroyed, seats torn from their mounts, the cockpit crushed, pilots killed instantly. The wreckage rested atop a remote peak 3,570 meters above sea level. Miraculously, 33 of the 45 people survived. Many were injured, stranded in a freezing, unfamiliar wilderness. Later, it was discovered the plane had drifted 80 kilometers off course. That would set the stage for an extraordinary survival story. Nobody could have imagined what lay ahead. This is the incredible story of Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, forever known as the Miracle of the Andes. Immediately after the crash, 2 survivors emerged relatively unharmed: 19-year-old Roberto Canessa and 20-year-old Gustavo Zerbino. Both were medical students and immediately started helping the injured. One passenger, 23-year-old Fernando Parado, had a fractured skull and was in a coma. Within an hour, the Chilean Air Search and Rescue Service was alerted and dispatched 4 planes to find the crash. They searched until nightfall, but the plane was almost invisible, blending perfectly into the snow. That night, survivors prayed to endure the freezing temperatures until rescue arrived. Tragically, 5 injured passengers died overnight, leaving 28 survivors struggling to survive. They used the remaining plane structure as shelter, sealing openings with luggage, seats, and snow to stay warm. On October 14th, 11 aircraft from Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay combed the mountains, but the crash site remained hidden. Survivors tried signaling SOS in lipstick and making a giant cross from suitcases, but no plane spotted them. 3 planes flew directly above, but despite shouting and waving, they were missed. By October 15th, water became a critical problem. Passenger Fito Strauch melted snow on a metal sheet, collecting drops in wine bottles. Seat cushions became makeshift snowshoes, and wool insulated them from the icy ground. By October 16th, 3 days after the crash, Parado woke from his coma. He learned his mother had died, and his sister was critically injured. A heartbreaking reminder of life's fragility. Tragically, 8 days later, his sister passed away, leaving him devastated. These moments showed how unpredictable life can be and how precious every day is. Most passengers had never seen snow before. At temperatures plunging to -30 degrees Celsius without food or water, survival depended entirely on determination. Many suffered snow blindness, temporary vision loss from sunlight reflecting off snow, with only 3 pairs of sunglasses to share. By October 21st, 8 days in, the search teams gave up. Survivors found a small transistor radio, portable radio. With Roy Harley's help, they got it working. Devastatingly, they learned the search had been called off. Food was scarce. Chocolate bars, a tin of mussels, jam, nuts, dried fruit, and a little wine. By day 11, supplies were gone. At 3,800 meters, no vegetation or animals existed. Facing starvation, survivors made the unimaginable decision to eat the bodies of the deceased. By October 29th, 16 days after the crash, nearly all food had run out. An avalanche, massive snowslide, buried part of the plane, killing 8 more, leaving only 19 survivors. They dug tunnels in the snow for ventilation, surviving underground for 3 days before resurfacing. Determined to escape, Canessa, Parado, and Vizintin decided to find help themselves. They soon realized the scale of the Andes. They were 89 kilometers east of where they thought. On November 15th, 33 days after the crash, the trio discovered the plane's rear section with supplies and a 2-way radio. They tried using the radio, but it wouldn't work due to voltage issues. With no other option, they started trekking west toward Chile. On December 11th, 59 days after the crash, an avalanche killed 3 more survivors, leaving just 16 alive. Using ingenuity, 18-year-old Carlos Miguel Rodriguez stitched clothes together to make a large sleeping bag to survive the cold. On December 12th, 2 months after the crash, Parado, Canessa, and Vizintin began climbing the glacier with no proper equipment. Parado layered clothes, jeans, sweaters, socks, plastic, to endure the freezing winds. Vizintin returned to conserve food, while Parado and Canessa pressed on. From the mountain peak, they could see nothing but endless snow-covered ridges. Eventually, they spotted snow-free peaks to the west, hoping it marked a descent. They reached a river valley, a hopeful sign of a downhill path. After 9 grueling days, on December 20th, they finally saw signs of human life. Cows grazing and 3 men on horseback. Parado sent a note across the river to Chilean farmer Sergio Catalan. Catalan alerted the army, and Parado and Canessa were brought to Los Maitenes, completing a 61 kilometers trek in 10 days. Canessa had lost nearly half his body weight. On December 22nd, Chilean helicopters rescued the remaining survivors 70 days after the crash. All 16 survivors eventually recovered, proving the incredible power of human will, hope, and perseverance. This disaster is remembered worldwide as the miracle of the Andes. Thanks for watching, and remember, the human spirit can survive even the most unimaginable odds.